Hey, it's Renata with Renata's Garden, and for this week's episode of Unearth Horticulture, I thought I'd give you a little tour of my finished crop greenhouse so you can see what's coming down the line, what's going to be on the plant bus here coming in a couple weeks. I can't believe that we're just 2 weeks away from bus launch. Stay tuned for more updates on dates and details there. But I thought I'd walk you through some of these varieties so that you can see what they look like now. And of course, I can walk you through a little bit of why I chose these varieties for you guys. So first here I have my nasturtium, and nasturtium is a classic old-fashioned plant, and it's all parts of it are edible. It's technically an herb, but it has some really great ornamental value. It likes partial shade, and it's more of a cool season, so it'll do really well here at first that you might really enjoy it. The flowers are excellent. They're kind of got a peppery flavor, and hummingbirds and bees really love nasturtium flowers. Here I have my Swiss chard bright lights, and not a lot of people have eaten Swiss chard, but it's a good spinach alternative. It's in the spinach family, and I like Swiss chard because it's kind of what we would call an edimental. It's both edible and ornamental, and that means that it's got really bright neon colored stems, and you can plant it in the landscape. It's really great because you can harvest off of it multiple times throughout the year, and you can work in it, and you can eat it cooked or raw. And I'm going to share a few recipes down the road on how you can use Swiss chard. It's one of my favorites. I have some other greens coming up, some arugula, some kale, and loose leaf mixes. So, you can buy bagged lettuce mixes at the grocery store, like chef salad or loose green mixes. But so think of these plants kind of like growing bagged lettuce mixes. There are several varieties of greens in each pot. So in Kale Storm, there's 4 different varieties of kale in there. And in Alfresco mix, you've got some radicchio, some couple different loose leaf varieties, some endive. So it's really fun. I knew those fans are going to kick on. It's starting to get really warm during the day here in this greenhouse, but so thankful for a climate control system. All right, next we've got a ton of pansies, and I have 4 different types of pansies. I've got one mix and then a few different blue varieties, because you might not have known it, but true blue flowers are not common in nature at all. So I wanted to add that color to the mix. If you're doing any kind of ornamental edible gardening, pansy flowers are edible. They're fantastic to put in the garden in different pockets, and you can have them in salads and desserts and cocktails if you're interested in botanical cocktails. Then we come to some of my other herb offerings. I've got a nice standard flat leaf Italian parsley, some chives, some thyme. They're all coming along really nicely. I love herbs because they're very multifunctional. They work, again, as ornamentals and edibles, but you can also grow them in all types of climates. You can grow them in partial shade. You can grow them throughout the whole season. You can even grow them indoors on your windowsill. And so I've got a lot of those coming down the line that will be offered starting here in March on the bus. Now, my favorite herb is basil, because basil just is strong. It has some punch, and there's nothing like basil and tomatoes in summer. So I have a couple different basil varieties here. One is called Try Basil, and it's actually 3 varieties, 3 types of basil in one. And if you're like me, you can't ever decide what type of basil to put in your garden. And so this one kind of is like a greens mix, like my greens mix is down there. And it has a red basil, it has a serrated leaf edge basil, and then a Genovese classic Italian basil. And they all grow up together, and you can pick and choose what you want to harvest when, or harvest it all together, have a nice summer caprese salad. This other basil variety I'm growing is called Everleaf Emerald Towers, and it's super cool because you can grow it in a container on your patio, and it grows up into a tower form. It has a really columnar growth habit, and it grows really tall and not as bushy. So it's a fun one to try out. It also is rated to flower 12 weeks later in the season. And if you've ever grown basil, you know that once it flowers, it kind of changes its taste and its growth habit. So you can't harvest off of it as frequently. So it's really cool that this variety has a delayed flowering time. So really, that's what I have in the finished greenhouse now. Starting here in a few weeks, I'm gonna start moving in some other like cucumbers and solanaceous crops like tomato and pepper and eggplant. I've got some zucchini squash coming down the line. So stick with me and I'll do another walkthrough update like this probably pretty soon. If you have any questions about the varieties or you wanna see other things that I'm gonna be growing to sell on the plant bus, check out my website. I have a link in the description below that links you to the window shopping page on my website. It's a place where you can look through and learn about the varieties I'm growing for you, ask questions, and if you have a big garden that you want to fill and you want to do a larger order that probably can't be filled on the plant bus, then you can always reach out to me, fill out the contact form, and I'll work with you to see if you want to come pick them up at my greenhouse sometime. So until next time, you've been watching Unearth Horticulture.